Death Stranding 2 has now been out for a month, and although it has such incredibly high production values, an amazing team, there's something that we just can't put our finger on that is making this game definitely a miss or a hit for a select few. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down 5 key pillars that you need to pay attention to if you want to play this game or not. We tried playing the original Death Stranding and it just feels off. So coming into the second one, we thought maybe we'd have a change of heart, and who knows, maybe our gaming tastes have matured, but right off the bat, we have flashbacks to remember why we did not like the game in the first place. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is the chore-like gameplay, where a lot of games nowadays are more action, or you have quests and there's things to do along these quests. Here, you just feel like a delivery person as you go across these worlds, with a story that, albeit is like different and kind of cool, the way they put everything together is kind of as monotonous as possible. You're really just that delivery driver going for hours and hours and hours to complete the missions. Not only that, but it does feel like a repetitive slog. You'll see things that are very similar to the first game, and you're literally like a post-apocalyptic mailman, balancing packages over miles of terrain. You have to micromanage weight, stamping, and even the weather, and all of this just gets exhausting. We kept wondering when the game would give some proper vehicle, but it just never did, at least in the way we expected. Some vehicles would end up being useless in certain terrain, and we would have to go back to walking again. We honestly wanted to skip forward to these experiences so we could actually enjoy the story, but the game doesn't allow you to do that. So right off the bat, if you enjoy Call of Duty Warzone or Fortnite with that intense action shooter, getting down to those final action moments, I think you could tell right away this game isn't for you. But let's break down a few more things about this game that'll help you make your decision. Next up is the clunky core mechanics and repetitive actions. For us, Death Stranding's mechanics often feel like they were designed to frustrate the player. Particularly the vehicle controls, the combat experience felt sluggish and awkward, and the menus were overly complex in the beginning. Don't get us wrong here, the game does look visually stunning and beautiful, and they've done a great job with that, and there is a really big expansive story, but it just really doesn't tie together. At some points, it even felt like the game was just there to test our patience, to see how much weird stuff they could fit into one game. Interactions with BB, the baby, were fine at first, but soothing it every time became stale too fast. Now comes the storytelling element. Here, we've even heard people relate to this as pretentious. In this case, the developers trying to create this really deep, immersive lore, kind of like Star Wars with all these backstories and things coming together, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't quite click. In both games, plot points feel like they were made up on the fly, and characters rarely act like real people. The way they express feelings and go through experience feels out of this world, which made it difficult to actually form a connection with them. It often felt like poor writing was treated like a form of genius, because what the game wanted you to perceive as unique always ended up just being awkward. In every cutscene, something weird happened, even when there was no need. Next, let's move on to the character development. Now, first of all, if you are curious about the story and really don't know what's happened or understand what's happening, this video, we don't have enough time to fill in the entire story, but there's so many good 20-minute videos on YouTube that let you see the entire story from the first or second game. So if you're curious, after you finish watching this video, definitely check one of those out. As for the character development, Sam Porter Bridges feels like he's probably the blandest protagonist in modern gaming. He shows more emotion when receiving sunglasses compared to when he's being buried alive. This struck a nerve even more in the second game because at first, Sam's going through deep trauma, but he's suddenly back to delivering mail because it's his calling. There is no transition or connection, and we wish the game had told us a bit more about that, because at the end of the day, the second game seems to fall flat given all its production value. Next up, we have their whole multiplayer experience. Now, a lot of games could really do with a multiplayer experience, that has been leveled up, but this is just not what we're getting here. When we first heard the lore, everyone was fascinated by the idea of a live world where you could use the equipment of others. However, even in Death Stranding 2, you're just alone. using other people's ladders and zip lines doesn't really count as an actual multiplayer experience. Sure, it's cool to see something that someone else has built or left in the game for you, but at the end of the day, it's more of just a gimmick because you're just going to be alone delivering your packages. And the final thing that we're going to talk about in this video is too much recycling. We had, what, 5-6 years to build up a story, and we're just seeing so much being repetitive. Kojima repeats the same formulas in Death Stranding 1 and Death Stranding 2. A mysterious child is important, you have to reconnect to the world, a guy shows up in BB's memories, and what upset us the most was how boss fights in Death Stranding 2 just felt like reskinned versions of what we saw in the first one. It honestly felt like there was little to no innovation, and the game's story wasn't engaging us enough to keep coming back. Opting in for the similar formula here also meant that we had to deal with pacing issues that we already disliked from the first game. Now, at the end of the day, we do recognize that you see average to high ratings on some rating platforms like Metacritic, but at Funjible Games, we want to give our honest opinions here, and us, just like a lot of people on Reddit, there was so much missed in this game. But given that high reviews does exist in this game, I guess if you're the type of gamer who just wants to chill and really dive into a world and spend countless hours doing menial tasks because you enjoy that style of storytelling, then by all means, have fun, get lost in this game. We're happy you're enjoying it because they spent so much building this. However, if you're like the majority of gamers, we genuinely feel that the story and game was held together by duct tape. We were really hoping for something that gave us the same feels as Metal Gear, but it just wasn't there. However, if you do want to find some fun games, definitely make sure you're heading over to our platform, Funjible.games. There we have so many games that you've never heard of before that are actually genuinely fun to play. We talk to project founders, so we get some inside scoops, as well as cover breaking news. So check that out if you haven't already, and make sure to leave a comment on what your honest thoughts are on Death Stranding 2. Hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll see you soon for another gaming video.